All right. So now we're going to focus in. This is kind of zooming in on one part of it. So we're talking a little bit here about giving. I would love to mention that we have financial education state standards in Washington. They're amazing. We chose for this particular training not to dig too much into the standards because we knew we were giving, this is for a K-12 audience, and that would be very challenging. But let's say for if you take away nothing else, know that our first competency is spending and saving, and our fifth competency is financial decision making. So those are the standards, the financial education standards we can connect to giving. You can see here how we talk about giving, receiving, sharing, and helping in the context of time, money, attention, or acts of service. And put a lot of emphasis here on holding space for the fact that people feel and react very differently. It's kind of one of those things that we act like it should be really easy for everybody. But if you've ever had siblings, I haven't, but if you've ever had siblings, I've heard that it's not that easy. With this, we really want to, like I said, hold space for those conversations, start generating ideas on how we can start integrating social emotional parts, kind of sprinkling it into financial education when we can, and vice versa.
Right. And I want to touch on something related to giving with our special population students. So many of our special population students experience multi-generational housing situations where they're living with parents and uncles and aunts, again, to supplement their income and pull their resources together because they are experiencing financial difficulties. And oftentimes it's part of their culture to give even when they're not in a financially healthy space to give. So it's important for educators working with special population students to also mention, hey, giving is really important and it's wonderful to do after you've met your financial needs and obligations, and after you've set some money aside. If you have money left over, then that's an appropriate time to give, to show students, hey, we can have conversations. Let's model a conversation where you share with your family, hey, I'm making this money now, I'm working, but I have a plan for my money, and sharing what your goals are, sharing what your aspirations are, what you're saving for can be a way of minimizing the guilt that students often feel when they are expected to give and don't do it because they have other financial responsibilities that they're trying to take care of. Again, there's a lot of social emotional awareness that happens, but we have to kind of create that space for them and say, hey, that's completely okay. Your needs are valid too. What you want to do with the money you're earning, aside from already contributing to your family's financial well-being, it's valid, it's important. Your goals, your aspirations, and the steps you need to take to do that, to reach those goals, mean you may not be able to give right now yet as much as you want, but down the line, once you're financially stable, you may be able to contribute more. And that's when it is financially appropriate to do so.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, and then I'm so excited to share this resource. So this is the feelings chart. I'm just gonna say, we know that talking about finances brings up feelings. If you're anything like me, sometimes you feel feelings and then go spend money as a result. Sometimes you spend money and then I have to feel the feelings. So there's absolutely a connection. We know this, right? So this feelings chart was developed by Arlie Naskahi of the Dene Nation. He is a fantastic educator and consultant on contract with the Office of Native Education through OSPI, who has also been just a fantastic partner with us. I've been to several of Arlie's presentations, and he was generous enough to allow me to share this resource with you. He developed it as he has dedicated his work to working with Native youth. And so that was the context in which he developed this. He noticed that due to the enduring and systematic injustices against the Native people, that led to obviously a lot of shared trauma, and essentially the loss of culture, traditions, and language. And that loss of language can be very profound when we're talking about the ability to express our feelings. We talk about self-awareness. I think we can all agree that emotional regulation in the classroom would be a great thing. You add into that, I'm going to kind of start over there. Sorry, I get so excited about this resource. So we have a group of students who, wow, can affect your loss of culture, traditions, and language. Obviously, that is something that our migrant students can also sometimes relate to if they came from a different speaking country and now they're in a predominantly English speaking country. So you lose that language, you use that ability to have that emotional literacy, right? When you have emotional literacy, you can develop that emotional awareness and eventually get to emotional regulation. So this is really the starting place. So I'm introducing it for financial education. I think this is just a fantastic tool across the board. Obviously, it was designed for our special population students, but it's particularly effective. I really do think with the shared trauma that we have kind of all experienced over the last couple of years, that we know a lot of our kids need some help in this expressing their feelings area. And so this was one chart that Arlie just has on hand to give a reference to students, hand them the chart and say, this is how I'm feeling. And another really great point that I feel that Arlie made was that to say, I feel, encouraging our students to say, I feel versus I feel like, because what usually follows I feel like is a thought. So an example of that would be, I feel like it's just super unfair that my mom lost her job and now I can't do soccer after school because we can't afford it. That's a thought, right? I feel, where is it? I am, help me.
Frustrated.
I feel frustrated. I feel sad that my mom lost her job. I feel disappointed that I can't do soccer this year. I feel frightened that I'm going to be left out now from other things. These are actual feeling words. These are the direction we would love to start seeing our students start to express themselves in. So all that to say, I would just really encourage everyone to hold space in their classrooms for these type of conversations. We never know what kind of financial backgrounds our students are coming from or what feelings might come up because of any of these discussions, but this is a great tool for giving students a way to actually concretely express themselves and continue to develop, like I mentioned very inarticulately earlier, some emotional regulation.
It's fine.
Okay. Oh, and then we're going to go from one acronym to another acronym. Now we're going to talk about SEL. Now let's talk about UDL. So the next chunk of our presentation is going to be just continuing with additional resources. So we just wanted to touch on universal design for learning, just to recognize that we have taken this into consideration as we have built our list of resources. As far as UDL, we know it's comprised of engagement, which is your why of learning, representation, which is your what of learning, and action and expression, which is your how of learning. The great thing about financial education is that money is engaging. It's a fairly universal hook. Mm-hmm. Kids are pretty interested in it. Yeah. If they don't have it, they want it. If they're not like super focused on it, they're still gonna need it and use it every day. So there's that built-in hook for it. We wanted to make sure we were really providing representation and different options for action and expression when we were building these lists. We just didn't want, one form of everything. We wanted to make sure there were different ways for students to demonstrate their comprehension, participate. We put everything through a bias and sensitivity screening tool that OSPI uses to make sure that we were considering taking a big picture look at whether or not there was any bias or sensitivity in these. And we really tried to focus on, like we keep coming back to, those explicit decision-making instructions and really problem-based learning opportunities. So an example of this would be like the FEP library, which we are going to go into in more depth in a little bit. So engagement, giving multiple options for books, topics, having the students see themselves in the protagonist or in the authors or in the family model. We have very untraditional family models in that bilingual Spanish bookshelf as well. And then for action and expression, those lesson and resource guides have different activities you could pull from a formative or a summative assessment if you wanted, different ways for students to demonstrate what they've learned from the lesson. And so with that in mind, we're going to go into this last part. We have about 15 minutes left of resources. So again, you're going to get a lot of stuff on the screen. We'll make sure you have links to everything in the follow-up to this webinar.